I feel I can outbox Tyson. I can box as good as he can, and I keep him in the middle of the ring, and I can punch if not better than Tyson.
Will this be a win that puts Donnie Long back into the heavyweight picture?
This will be a win that let everybody know that Donnie Long is back.
This is as bad as I've ever seen Donnie Long look, but...
No, he might want to stick around and fight on some of my undercards if he like.
And there's only one winner, as I always tell y'all guys, you're looking at him, easy.
Suggest that Allah knows how to spell Barrera.
I walk this earth like a god.
There's only one Floyd Mayweather. You cannot anoint any other Floyd Mayweathers. There is one. There will always only be one.
In the build-up to the Crawford-John fight, Crawford and his team was grossly disrespected by John and his team. It all started when John failed to attend the press conference. Instead of attending, John had a cardboard cutout of him in his place instead. A member of Team Crawford put in his 2 cents of the situation, which it foreshadowed what was going to take place that Saturday.
The champ is giving you an opportunity to fight for his title, and you're gonna send a cardboard box, man. It makes me mad because that's showing you that you don't have no respect for the champ. At least have enough gratitude to come in and say, thank you, man, for letting me try to challenge you for your title in your hometown. That's where they messed up at. Once you start disrespecting Terrence, and you start disrespecting him, his camp, then you asking for an ass whooping.
After Crawford handled his business first, completely dismantling John, Crawford would, after the fight, put in his 2 cents.
Well, you can look to your left and you can see those 2 guys over there that called me out. He called me out twice. Did you get what you was looking for? Yeah.
Don't you have any respect for him at all as a fighter?
As a fighter? I think he should be locked up for impersonating a fighter.
Liston and his entourage was walking through the casino, and he all of a sudden stopped, held up his hand for his crew to stop, pointed over and asked, "Isn't that Cassius Clay?" Liston walked over to the crap table as Clay was playing. As Clay was about to look up, Liston smacked him across the face.
Clay said, "What'd you do that for?" And Sonny said, "Because you too bleeping fresh." And he turned around and just walked away, and everybody's walking with him. And Sonny said, "I got the punk's heart."
That fueled Ali more to give him an absolute boxing lesson, which completely shocked the boxing world, as most at the time thought that Ali was a joke. Ali made Liston quit in his corner at the start of the 6th round.
He flirted with bigger and bigger money offers from promoters and networks alike. He ridiculed the court battle that forced him to fight a rematch. And most of all, he taunted, he insulted, he trashed the man from whom he had taken the title.
Hasim Rotman shocks the world, knocking out Lennox Lewis in their first fight, and it got to his head a little too much. For the build-up to the rematch, Rotman went on a complete verbal assault to try and get under Lewis's skin.
With his mind.
You want to do it now? You want to do it now? You want to do it now? No, look at him, look at him.
These tactics are always a double-edged sword. If you win, you are a savage badass. If you lose in this fashion, it can be the most embarrassing thing. In this case, Lewis sent Rotman to the Shadow Realm, in which he was never really able to rebound and escape from.
This will be the end of Lennox Lewis.
If he holds true to his word. You know, he might want to stick around and fight on some of my undercards if he like, which I really don't have a problem with.
Not to counterpunch. Boom! It's over. Lennox Lewis got revenge. Has captured his revenge. And now it's Rahman complaining in the corner.
I ain't gonna go on and tell you about points or anything like that. I'm planning a complete knockout, utter knockout. I've trained so hard. I'm so focused. I've got one vision, and that is a complete knockout, as I keep telling you guys. And just enjoy the fight, because it's going to be one unbelievable fight. And there's only one winner, as I always tell y'all guys in every press conference. You're looking at him, easy.
Now this match was obviously going to make this list. Barrera, who was quite soft-spoken and said very little to the build-up to the fight. Hamed was a complete ass for no reason. In this situation, Hamed is punching down rather than up or on even grounds. It made him look like the bully, and in most cases, there's never a good ending to the bully in these tales. Barrera gave him an absolute ass whooping. It was so bad, it completely ruined Hamed's career, killing his drive to fight.
That the Prince has developed since he was a boy is being exposed. His moment of truth has turned into an hour of torture.
Well, this is for all the Mayweather fans out there. The fight all started off with Hatton roasting Mayweather after knocking out Jose Luis Castillo.
Mayweather or about a potential fight with Floyd Mayweather.
You know, this fight tonight, what round was it? Round 4. I think you saw more action in these 4 rounds than you saw value for money in Floyd's whole career. I'll just leave it at that.
Thousands of Hatton supporters flew in to support him, and it opened for quite an interesting weigh-in, as the Hatton supporters completely drowned out the Mayweather supporters.
Who have you come to see? Floyd? Me? Who's taking the belts? Let's fucking have it.
Mayweather would take Hatton's O and send him and his army back to the UK.
Check left hook. Went right into it. You never saw it.
What a perfect shot. The left hook by Mayweather, and
Every situation for Hatton.
this fight is over. Floyd Mayweather has a knockout victory.
Victor Ortiz says some cringy things at times.
If you're talking to me, you're literally talking to a tree, bro.
But man, this takes the cake here. How you gonna say you're gonna be winning all those titles when you still have to handle your business first? Which that is his opponent, Luis Collazo. This is a perfect case of handling your business first and do your talking last.
WBA, WBC, IBF, WBO, Green Magazine, champion of the world, champion of the world, champion of the world, champion of the world, champion of the world. You're not fighting, buddy.
I know where. I know where.
The press conference was held in Los Angeles. Everybody was there. And Fernando challenged his manhood, challenged his ethnicity, challenged everything.
I don't even know what was Vargas's big deal, and even to this day, Vargas went on a verbal assault calling Oscar a sellout, then to rant about he doesn't play golf, wear silk pajamas, I don't cut a CD, I'm here to fight. Literally just like that. Well, on that night, Oscar was there to fight too.
Rich guys can fight after all.
Absolutely. Just the point I was about to suggest.
With silk pajamas and all.
No matter how many hundreds of millions of dollars are in the bank, silk pajamas, golf, mansions, he still loves to fight.
So stay away from guys who eat caviar. I think if Oscar... If he can make Fernando Vargas eat his words, if he can knock him out, and he does.
When watching the broadcast of this fight, when Vargas is entering the arena, Chavez Sr. is by his side. After losing and heading to the locker room, he is nowhere to be found in frame.
Prior to the fight, but usually, especially when you have a real brutal fight like this where both guys was hurting each other, you develop respect along the way. But in this case, your blood still exists.
Golovkin, in most of the build-ups to his fights, he's a rather polite, well-mannered prize fighter, especially back in 2013. Curtis Stevens had absolutely no chill to the build-up to this fight.
Abel was writing checks that Gennady Bash can't cash. Come Saturday, I'm going to fuck Gennady up. Have a good day.
Stevens trolls Golovkin on Twitter by posting an image with his boys, having a candlelight vigil by a makeshift grave labeled "Rest in Peace, GGG." I ain't even mad. This is just pure entertainment right here. Besides the embarrassing knockdown, Stevens, unlike almost all of the people on this list, did have some moments.
Good right hand by Golovkin. Good left hook by Golovkin. And down goes Stevens. There it is. Cossack Thunder in round number 2. And Stevens doesn't look all that good.
My last question for him, I asked him, you serious? You serious? Okay, yeah, I'm serious.
But at the end of the day, Golovkin made him a good boy. To start this list off, oh boy, this fight here. Stiverne is coming off an embarrassing loss against Deontay Wilder in the rematch. The memes after this fight was by far some of the most creative. With this fight being announced, Stiverne is already talking about what the outcome is going to be, and he's already throwing out his future plans of dethroning Anthony Joshua. He stated way before the fight he was training in the mountains and has racked in thousands of rounds and has ran hundreds of miles. The link to his whole statement will be in the description box. It's almost hard to believe it came out of his mouth. Fast forward, Stiverne having quite of a show at the final press conference, which was started up by Joyce's trainer. There was semi-hopes that Stiverne will expose Joyce, as Joyce's promoter boldly claimed that he is top 5 ranked material. Whatever hopes there was, all died at the weigh-in. Stiverne weighs in at his all-time career high. This post on r/boxing on Reddit just about killed me. The blatant sarcasm of this caption had me weak. Well, I can't really show you any footage of this fight since it hasn't really been a year yet. I will show through photos and describe to you what happened.
Whack.
This is probably the worst I've ever seen Stiverne. This is an all-time low. This man looked gassed out by the opening bell. Training in the mountains, thousands of feet above sea level? I doubt that. The dude was training in the Salton Sea, for all I know. Though he lost just as embarrassingly as in the Wilder fight, somehow and some way, he did expose Joe Joyce. From a Boxing Scene article post on Facebook, fans were so disappointed in Stiverne's performance, they shared this absolutely savage meme. Not as much context needed with this fight than the previous entry. Things didn't start to get real juicy till fight week, when Brook was constantly mentioning he was going to give Spence Jr. the chocolate brownies. He was very adamant about it.
Saturday night, chocolate brownie special delivery.
Whack.
I'm knocking you out. Promise you gonna be a fan. Promise you gonna be a fan.
Watch what happens when I get my hands on you, bro.
I don't know what what is a chocolate brownie? What is it?
What is that? Watch what happens.
Chocolate brownie. You named it that?
One true fit.
That's so lame. Chocolate brownie.
That's the truth.
You get cootie points for that?
So Spence ends up running through Brook after the first half and stopping him in the 11th round. After the fight, Spence savagely celebrated his win by posting a video on Twitter of him eating some chocolate brownies. During Rodriguez's media open workout, Inoue's father/trainer was spectating the workout. He decided to take his camera out and film a little bit of the session, probably for social media. Rodriguez's trainer comes out, pushes Inoue's father, and tells him to stop filming. Telling him to stop filming is one thing, but trying to intimidate the man and use physical force before telling him to stop filming is completely out of line. Then Rodriguez's trainer states that everyone stared and gave him an attitude. Well, they have a good reason to give an attitude. The boxing scene in Japan is completely different from the boxing scene in Western countries. There is a much higher level of respect and sportsmanship between one and another. especially in boxing. Western fighters who do come to Japan or fight a Japanese fighter are always shocked by the level of mutual respect given from the fighter, his team, and his fans. So for this to happen, Manny Rodriguez and his team have sealed their fate. Though Rodriguez's trainer is the one who did these acts, he represents his fighter and the rest of the team. If Rodriguez didn't think what his trainer did was wrong, he approves of such unsportsmanlike behavior and he's doing his dirty work. Inoue smashes Rodriguez in 2 rounds. Though Khan was coming off a loss against Peterson, many thought he won, and his stock was still up. And this fight here was for all the marbles, plus Khan's relevancy, as this fight was for the WBC, WBA, and Ring Magazine / Lineal Junior Welterweight title.
I never said this ever at a press conference. I will knock Danny Garcia out, and I will win the world title.
Khan saw this as an easy fight and was already calling out Floyd Mayweather. He accused Mayweather of using steroids and went on to say he would flatten Floyd Mayweather.
Also, Floyd Mayweather is someone that we're looking at. I think I'm the younger, hungrier. I think Floyd now he's going downhill a little bit now, whereas with me, I'm getting stronger, I'm going up. And I think it's the best time to catch Floyd Mayweather. I
swear, there's some kind of curse. It never fails whenever a fighter calls out Floyd that is nowhere close to getting a fight made with him. Bad things come their way, and this was no different. Khan started the fight well, but due to grossly biased commentary, no one was seeing the sneaky counters that Garcia was landing on Khan whenever he came in with his shots. After almost a perfectly timed shot by Garcia, which landed, Garcia did some dialing and slight adjustments, and in the 4th round, Garcia drops Khan picture perfect. Khan in his mind, thinking he's fighting Marcos Maidana, assumed he can just fight toe-to-toe and survive the round, and forgets that Garcia had actual technique, and it backfired awfully. Just barely 30 seconds left in the round till Khan could have a breather and regroup. He gets dropped again, and Bayless waves him off. Khan was never able to recover, and he was left behind and thrown up on a shelf to gather dust, as guys like Danny Garcia, Lucas Matisse, Keith Thurman, and Lamont Peterson rose up into the spotlight. In the 24/7 series, Hatton and his team was watching Pacquiao's tapes and picking apart his game. Hatton criticized Pacquiao for using the same move over and over again, the right hook and roll under, and straight hand.
Same move, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Right hook, roll under, right hook, roll under, right hook, spin off.
Drop my button.
Just give him something to spin off onto.
And guess what happened? He gets dropped by the right hook while rolling under Hatton's shot.
Right hook, roll under, right hook, roll.
And he was floored by the straight hand.
Oh my gosh, what a straight left hand. What an amazing knockout shot. That is the most spectacular one-punch shot of Manny Pacquiao's incredible career.
So the 24/7 here really did paint Floyd as the bad guy.
41-1, you can fight worse. Let me go, I'm gonna talk right here. You couldn't fight worse. You couldn't fight worse. So I'm gonna be something at the trainer. You want to shoot at the mother fighter. Hey, go ahead.
When really, Ortiz was the bad guy, and he got what he deserved.
And I'm gonna teach you what it feels like to have that one on your record, bro. Saturday night, I won't hold my hands up. I'm gonna put you on your ass.
By all means, I'm not a Mayweather fan, and this completely flew over my head upon first watching this on pay-per-view. It wasn't till later, when I had to study this fight, I picked up on these things. Like, what the shit was this guy's problem? From the opening bell, this guy was fighting straight dirty, throwing the most blatant headbutts I've seen in boxing of this decade. Floyd is not an angel himself when it comes to the way he leads with his elbow, but that comes with his style, like how some fighters tend to lead with their head. It's part of the game, but it's not purposeful to where the opponent is fighting on uneven grounds. This guy here was fighting like a straight asshole, and my gosh, this is possibly Joe Cortez's worst performance, and this was one of his last biggest fights he ref before he retired from boxing. So all these blatant fouls by Ortiz was ignored by the HBO commentators, so this flew right over the spectators watching from home. Since Ortiz was getting away with so much, the dude was pretty much like, what else can I get away with? Let me turn it up a notch. Dude straight up throws the most blatant, most animated headbutt I've ever seen on live television. He charges that shit up like Goku and jumped into Floyd's jaw, splitting the area under his lip open, which later he had to get stitches.
Hit me with the headbutt, what's my mouth? Hit me with the headbutt, then knock
on purpose. He tried it 2 or 3 times.
He got hit me with headbutts. Hit me with the headbutt a couple times.
He lunged himself with his head forward.
Then Ortiz acted like this was his first offense and was extremely apologetic towards Floyd. Floyd saw right past Ortiz's BS, and it was at that moment Floyd no longer cared about putting on a show. The people who bought tickets, the pay-per-view, and wanted this fight over. This show is over, screw you, I'm collecting my money, and I'm taking my ass home. That's what was going through his head. Floyd is not the type of guy to be loading up on his shots. He rarely throws his punches with 100% power on them. But right there, he throws 2 of the hardest shots he has thrown in a pretty long time. You can see the rage in Floyd's eyes as he was popping these off. The dude yelled when he threw these shots, which says a lot about how much power he was putting into these shots. The second shot, he threw all his weight into it and made 100% sure that shot there was gonna split him right on the nerve of the jaw. Not a single soul would have gotten up from that shot. The aftermath of this fight, HBO portrayed Ortiz like he did nothing wrong, but the Nevada Commission saw elsewise. After an interview where Ortiz went off and stated he was trying to break Floyd's nose, the commission had a case that his actions in the fight was purposeful. He was fined $100,000 and had to reinstate his boxing license in the state of Nevada.
My motion is to grant a license. In addition, we hold $100,000 of his purse, subject to an investigation.
All in favor? Aye. Motion's carried.
All the drama pretty much occurred during fight week. Sullivan had literally no chill. He was putting on his best Conor McGregor performance and intimidating Lemieux and trying to get under his skin, which most fight fans thought this was going to be one crazy back and forth action bout.
Smash your head right there in the lobby. You greasy piece of shit. I'm coming for Triple G or Canelo, the winner. Saturday night, be ready, you little greasy piece of shit.
On fight night, I'll have to look back on my old SD cards. I'm pretty sure it was this fight, but your boy was in David's locker room to get some B-roll footage. And when I first came in, you really felt the energy in the room. Dude was straight focused and a bit angry. If this was Hajime no Ippo, homeboy already had the green glowing eyes. The music he was warming up to was a bit odd. It was something that you would hear most likely in the Godfather soundtrack. Some real eerie vibes in the dressing room. Sullivan had woken up a beast, and it surely didn't take long. Lemieux made quick work of Sullivan in the first round.
Maybe for the first time of his pro career. He's hurt.
And it is over. Oh my goodness. Laura has stopped it in the first. Wow. As Michael Sullivan has no idea where he's at. David Lemieux said, I'm going to make him pay for talking trash about me.
The Mayweather curse hit Rousey big time. Rousey practices boxing for a good year by a boxing coach who is more credible than Frank Dukes, and she thinks she's the absolute ish, in which she forgets that her world-class skills in judo is what got her there in the first place. What made this ridiculous, she calls out Floyd Mayweather during the ESPYs, and shortly after that, she was on the cover of Ring magazine, the most prestigious magazine in boxing, literally the Bible of boxing. For fans of boxing, this was an absolute insult, and it was an insult to female boxers who were much more qualified and never made it on the cover, but Rousey did before them. Rousey becomes the first woman since 1978 to be featured on the cover of Ring magazine. That title should have went to Cecilia Brækhus, who was the only undisputed champion in boxing at the time, or Clarissa Shields, who became the first American boxer since Andre Ward in 2004 to win a gold medal in the Olympics. Clarissa had to do something no American boxer has done and go for 2 gold medals to earn her cover spot in December 2016. Rousey's opponent was a boxer herself, a world-class level boxer with plenty of achievements that Rousey's camp slept on. So Rousey, and her 1 year of boxing training, does the most unimaginable thing. She tries to beat Holm at her own game. This plan was more doomed from the start than the Bay of Pigs invasion. Holm, who immediately saw this, gladly took advantage, and oh my, she gave Rousey a boxing lesson.
The UFC's Tom Gervasi did a top 10 all-time list in January for Ring magazine. Holly was on that list.
Absolutely beautiful performance by Holm. And to end the fight right there, she used her kickboxing skills and threw a perfect kick, laying her out cold. Boxing fans were in rejoice, and justice was served in the most ironic fashion. So Haugen, or Haugen, I think it's Haugen, was trash-talking Chavez for quite some time, stating stuff like he's been fighting nothing but Tijuana cab drivers. The nail in the coffin here was when he started talking trash about Chavez's fellow Mexican fans and the country itself. Haugen stated, "There ain't 130,000 Mexicans that can afford to buy tickets." This angered the whole Mexican community.
A Haugen sí no le voy a tener nada de compasión. With Haugen, I ain't gonna have no pity on Haugen because I'm gonna knock him out because he's got a big mouth. No, a ti sí te voy a arrancar la cabeza. I'm gonna chop your head off.
And when this fight was made, 132,000 Mexican supporters showed up to witness Chavez murk this guy. And they were not disappointed. Chavez punched this guy's face in for 5 rounds till it was waved off.
Para no correr ningún riesgo.
Le metió la mano derecha y está cayendo Haugen. La izquierda velocidad. La mano derecha retroceder estadounidense de espaldas a la propia esquina.
This really doesn't need any type of context at all. Literally just speaks for itself.
And I'm gonna get right over you. I'm gonna step right over you. I walk this earth like a god. You see what I'm saying? So you go back and you do your training and you get in preparation for what you're gonna think you can do April 9th.
So after that, we all saw how this god, or demigod, fared up against Joshua. It didn't really last long at all. Okay, the most requested entry on this list. Might as well save the best for last. A lot of the context to this matchup really doesn't need any explanation. Broner caught a career-changing beating. Though the work he did put in to narrow the scorecards really does get overshadowed what Maidana put on. All people will remember of this fight was the build-up, Broner entering the arena during the undercards, Broner's ring entrance, Maidana knocking him down and manhandling on the ropes. And lastly, the expression on his face as he was being guided from the ring to his dressing room. Jeff Lacy was being put in the American media hype machine and labeled as a super middleweight Mike Tyson. Despite Europe, for the most part, ruling super middleweight since its creation, despite Calzaghe being undefeated, 17 successful title defenses, and being fundamentally superior than Lacy, the American public completely threw those facts out the window and somehow had Joe the heavy underdog, which is a complete insult to what he has accomplished.
It was an easy pick, and virtually, I would say 95% of the US media picked Jeff Lacy to win and fully expected him to knock out Joe Calzaghe.
On a personal note here, American fighters are incredibly privileged. I'm not saying all fighters, but a fair amount. They can become critically acclaimed with so little accomplishments, while the foreign fighter who fights outside of America because of obvious reasons really has to double, sometimes triple down to receive such notoriety. Europe rules divisions like super middleweight and cruiserweight, and there is a clear reason why Americans have barely made a dent in the history of the division, and there should be a higher level of respect given. With that being said,
you look at his fights, you wouldn't call him a slapper?
Despite being injured coming to the fight, Calzaghe put on an absolute show. Many who tuned into Showtime to see Lacy unify was their first time seeing Joe were in complete shock.
Right uppercut. Calzaghe is outboxing Lacy at this stage, but it's a 12 round and a little contemptuous smile from
knee combination, and then spins off and leaves Lacy to hit in thin air. He's boxing his head off.
He is giving him a boxing lesson.
Absolutely, John. Giving him an absolute boxing lesson. He's hitting him, but he's not getting hit. This is fantastic.
Their opinions coming into the build-up were molded by the nationalistically biased journalism. It seemed like Calzaghe's team knew that from the start because they never really seemed to receive the credit they deserved out west.
So they always had something against what Joe was achieving. And I've got to say this now, it pissed me off big time.
Which really motivated Enzo, Joe's dad, to convince Joe to not drop out of the fight due to his injury.
Do you know what happens if you don't fucking fight the fight? They call you a bastard coward. They call you every name under the sun. You can forget your boxing career. You're over.
And my dad said you have to fight this fight. Joe, if you want to fight one arm, doesn't matter. I'm proud of you no matter what.
Every single round, Joe not once let off the gas. On that night, he showed everyone why he is the best at super middleweight, putting on, hands down, one of the greatest performances in the sport.
But he can be dangerous, but Calzaghe's a fighter through and through.
Can Calzaghe take him out even at this late stage? He's going nothing for him. He's put Lacy down for the first time in his career.
This is the fight Haye really wanted, and he was being vocal as possible on social media, at Vlad's fights, and most notably, the t-shirt which started the bad blood of him holding the heads of both brothers. To further up the ante, Haye had a mobile game developed where you can decapitate the head off of a Russian heavyweight boxer. That's exactly what it's listed on Wikipedia. This was all happening in 2009. With all that trash talk, Haye was forced to pull out due to an injury. I feel sorry for Satanta. They were putting all the eggs in the basket for this fight and was expecting a major payoff since they were exclusively broadcasting this matchup. This fight was supposed to happen June 20th, 2009. Satanta pulled a plug and went off air in the UK June 23rd, 2009. Over 200 jobs were lost. So, yeah. Thank you, David Haye. 2 years later, Haye picks up a belt. Vladimir does a public call-out video, which till this day is still better executed than a lot I've seen in recent times. The fight is finally made. So much hype due to the prolonged wait actually made the fight week and the turn-up larger than ever. Despite everything Haye said, he did not live up to any of that. Not a single decapitating punch landed, and he fought on his bicycle the whole night, which is not wrong at all. That's boxing. But because of context, he shot himself in the foot there. Klitschko cruised to an easy but confusing unanimous decision, with Haye making things even worse for himself by bringing up another injury in his post-fight interview. So Fernando Vargas, just being Fernando Vargas, does the most Fernando Vargas thing on making an impulse statement of throwing down a $100,000 bet with Shane Mosley that he will knock him out.
So you say you're gonna knock me out? I know I'm gonna knock you out. So I'll say this, I'll put 100,000 down right now. Put your money where your mouth is. Let's do it. Let's do it right now. All right, good.
Shane was able to stop Vargas by a cumulative punishment to the eye, which had completely blinded him. Despite being a close fight, an L is an L, and Vargas had to give up that 100 stacks.
He was a man of his word, and he paid me the $100,000.
In the post-fight, Vargas called out Mosley's manager, who is his wife, and demanded a rematch.
So I wanna ask Shane right now, where's Shane at? Oh, let's talk to his wife. So, I want to know, am I going to have a rematch?
Then Vargas's wife went after Mosley's wife. Supposedly a fight erupted. Since this was back in the days where not many media outlets from YouTube and other platforms recorded these events in their entirety, footage of this scuffle is yet to come out.
Everything went crazy and people were pulling people apart, and you know, it was pretty intense. I mean, You know, and who doesn't like a great cat fight?
Golden Boy talking about doing a Mosley and Fernando Vargas misses fight. That'd be great.
So the Nazi regime has been signing quite a bit of L's lately, through their philosophy of their Aryan racial background being superior to everyone. The first of many L's kicking off in the Munich Olympics. Max Schmeling, who really didn't support the Nazi regime and just happened to be German nationality, became the heavyweight champion of the world. He was instantly made a propaganda tool by the regime. As being the heavyweight champion in this era, you were the most famous, most recognized person in the world. Despite Max losing the title and Lewis winning the title against James Braddock, Max still had that giant upset TKO over Lewis, which was used against him by the regime. When the fight was made, the entire world tuned in. In Germany, it was on a delayed broadcast because if Max loses, they won't air it. Sort of like how North Korea broadcasts their sports today. Hilarious enough, the week of the fight, Joe Louis wore sunglasses with the photos cut out of Max knocked down on the canvas, stating that's what he's going to do. Who said fighters didn't trash talk back in the day? Louis did exactly he said he was going to do. Not only he knocked him out, but also fractured Max's third and fourth lower lumbar vertebrae, which also caused a hemorrhage to the lower lumbar muscles. For anyone that wanted to know why he was screaming when he got knocked out from the documentary, which I'm not sure if that was mentioned, but now you know. Carroll was all over the place trash-talking Farmer and just being a habitual line stepper.
Habitually, he's a habitual line stepper.
Farmer's only response to Carroll was, "I'm going to beat you up real bad, then take you out for Philly cheesesteaks," which is possibly the most old school response I ever heard.
I seen the picture with the beard cut, you look like a pervert. I seen the picture, you look like a pervert. You look like a pervert. You look like a pervert. You're cutting your beard, you're gonna be a pervert boxer that night. I'm gonna beat your ass.
And on a positive note here, Farmer did beat him up pretty bad, and he lived up to his promise by taking him out for the day to Philly to get some mean Philly cheesesteaks, in which they later became good friends, and he actually came back and visited Farmer the next year. I think out of this series, this will be the only segment where it ended on a positive note.
You go through trouble and y'all fight and then you make up. That's what boxing's all about. Gentleman sport. Yeah, absolutely.
This is a rocky 1 through 3 plotline here. Despite Joshua accomplishing so much within a short time and becoming incredibly famous in the process, he was worrying more about his image and what's in the future than the actual craft of the sport and the opponent who's in front of him. He was training to look pretty, bulking up rather than training to fight in any condition like an actual boxer. So coming into the fight, he did all of that when Ruiz wasn't taking any chances, whipping himself up in the greatest shape of his career. The fight started off well for Joshua, though there are some serious exploits to Joshua's style, which having a very long reach, he is not utilizing that at all. When you have a long reach like Joshua, and your opponent has T-Rex arms in comparison, you shouldn't be trying to fight this man head on like Mike Tyson. That's just something bad waiting to happen. Though no one saw this, especially after Ruiz was dropped, that was the best moment for him to exploit that flaw, and Ruiz was able to put him down. Joshua wasn't able to fully recover with the fact that he has so much unnecessary muscle that completely tired him out, where he was ultimately stopped by Ruiz. Now though, Joshua's clout had been curbed, Ruiz's clout exceeds James Buster Douglas levels. Joshua learned his lesson, went back to the basics, dropped all that excess muscle, and trained his ass off. While Ruiz, well, I don't know what he did, so we'll just leave it at that. Ruiz comes in at his heaviest and Joshua comes in at his lightest. And my gosh, I knew Joshua was trained for speed, but I didn't know he was going to be that fast. He put on a show and ironically threw the reverse card right back at Ruiz. Mickey and Rocky 3 couldn't have said it any better. You got civilized. And the lesson of the day in boxing is don't get civilized. Out of most of the segments in this series, this may require the least amount of context. Anthony Hembrick, an undefeated prospect, 14-0 against his biggest test. Booker T. Ward, who is 16-1. He really picked the wrong fight to do this. Like, you know, these things never go as planned.
Popular fighter over the horizon. He has come along quickly. Last time we saw him, he looked extremely loose, very confident, and he puts on a show.
Anthony gets knocked out in the first round. The promotion to this fight was just pure entertainment.
His top three is singing, promoting Hennessy, and planking. I got the whole hood with me, just like he got the whole Philippines with him. I don't even know how to spell that. I got the whole hood with me. H-O-O-D. I'm not playing. I feel like a bum trying to fight for a sandwich. I swear to God. He drink Hennessy. He promote Hennessy. He fuck his money up, fuck up his taxes. Shit, if you ask me, he a black fighter.
And then the post-fight being even more entertaining. Despite Broner showing signs he can really do something at the start of the fight, like the first 2 to 3 rounds. Then after that, he just packed his bags up and mentally checked out into autopilot. Pacquiao completely dominated the rest of the fight, and here we get this infamous post-fight interview.
Bring your motherfucking ass over here. I got a lot to say.
We're going to conduct this professionally, or we're not going to have an interview. You make the decision.
Everybody out there know I beat him. I controlled the fight. He was missing. I hit him clean more times. I beat him. Hey, I'm 3-3-1 my last 7, but I'll be 7-0 against you.
Well, that wouldn't mean much. That's the end of this interview. Good luck to you in the future.
Following after this interview, Broner broke the internet. He had completely crossed over from just boxing memes within the community and becoming an actual meme. I was seeing all sorts of pages not even remotely related to sports posting Broner memes, when before it wasn't like that.
You couldn't get...
It already sounded like you was against me. So I already got frustrated with you. But let me talk something. Let me let y'all know. I want to thank the whole hood that came out here. I love y'all. I did this for the hood. Y'all know I beat that boy. Top Cincinnati, stand up. West side. 2-5.
This man's peoples did not teach him when he was young to not play with his food. Or at least play a little, but that plate better be finished. So Great Value Naseem Hamed. Wait, you know what? Scratch that. That's an insult to the actual Great Value Nazes. Putting in that work and finishing fights. This man is straight from Wish. So this dude has the fight finished. It's pretty much done. He's up in the cards. Maxwell is just physically spent. Mentally he's still in there. But this man just keeps playing with him. Dropping his hands, showboating. It ain't dumb if it works. But that don't mean overdo it. And this fool was overdoing it to where in the final round, this man completely misjudges his range with his hands down. Sets his feet while his hands are down. Not realizing Maxwell's feet are already set to launch a bomb, then to get straight snuffed to the canvas. Sabri doesn't make the count, and Maxwell takes home the vacant WBO European title.
Looking a little bit groggy, and a face which tells a story. Oh, great shot! Left hand, right hand from Maxwell. Well, where did that come from? I can hardly believe what I've seen. An astonishing turnaround. He gets to his feet, and he stopped it! He stopped it!
This fight is ridiculous here. Where do I even start with this? So the fight started semi-clean, Norwood fighting rather dirty, opening the first with repeated kidney shots. So let that set the tone for what's about to happen later in the fight. The third round, oh my gosh, this dude is throwing massive low blows, and Gainer is like, bruh, ref man, you seeing this? Then in the fourth, Norwood throws Gainer up against the ropes and begins to throw more kidney shots. Within this whole time, Gainer is giving Norwood a boxing lesson. At the end of the fourth, Gainer misses with a straight which Norwood launches at Gainer, throwing him to the ground. Though I don't think this is legal by the ref, but he began a 20 count, and once Norwood found out he was being counted, he got right on up.
For the 10 count.
Right? You want to continue? Huh? All right, let's go, box.
So fast forward, 6th round, this dude out here throwing an anomaly of kidney punches, then throws one big low blow on Gainer. Gainer had enough, and he throws one of the biggest low blows in the history of attentional low blows. Though the ref counted Norwood as if he was knocked down, he still took a point off from Gainer for the low blow.
And there are body shots. Now those are kidney shots. Okay, 5 kidney shots.
I don't know how Norwood is keeping his composure in this fight. This is an absolute mess. Round 9, Gainer drops Norwood once again in the fight, and later that round, Norwood gets Gainer in a hold where he's throwing massive amount of low blows. Norwood tries to hit him on the back of the head, but he's in such an awkward angle and misses, but he was able to get a good elbow in. Round 10, once again, more crap from Norwood. He picks Gainer up, begins kidney punching him as he's throwing him down. By this point, whatever retaliation happens from Gainer, Norwood absolutely has whatever coming to him, and that will come in the very next round. Norwood back at it with the kidney shots, then he began throwing a lot of low blows. Gainer finally had enough, thank you Al Heyman, and just let them hands go below the belt. Not one, not two, three perfectly connected haymakers to under Norwood's belt. By this point, that ref just wants to go home and begins a 20 count on Norwood. Norwood gets up, but stumbles at 18, not facing him, so the ref found that was a great opportunity to stop the fight. Gainers and rejoice. Hilariously now, Norwood wants to be a sportsman and walks over to Gainer's corner to congratulate him. And you can see Gainer clearly saying, "Get the F out of here," then to be shooed away by his team members. Now this caught me by surprise. Obviously, I'm not from the UK. I don't really know too much about Price. From my perspective, I just thought he was a quiet, classy dude who wasn't really a top-tier trash talker till I saw this. This fight is in Liverpool and Price's backyard, and this man is straight clowning Price in front of all of his people. This dude finally had enough, and the Liverpool came out this man, verbally owning Ali.
You get your ass is gonna go, lad. Oh, you soft cunt, or I'll rip that beard off your face. Craft head. Done. Okay. David Price. Oh, what are you saying? You know when I've knocked you out, I'll fucking knock you out as well. Head. You fucking gobshite. Okay.
So you would think all the things Ali said, we'll see something big from him. Nope, not at all. Price for the most part controlling the fight. Price hurts Ali, about to take full control of the round till Ali tackles him and begins to bite him. Yeah, bite him. Ali did say he was going to eat Price alive, so at least he attempted to deliver on that. Ali took the coward's way out and was disqualified immediately by the ref. So we all know the story with this. Mayorga says a lot of bad things, a lot of nasty things to get under Oscar's skin. And in a typical Mayorga fashion, we are accustomed to seeing him get completely knocked off his block on fight day. De La Hoya makes Mayorga pay, stopping him in the 6th round. O'Hara Davies, who was a top junior welterweight prospect, confronts Mayweather about comparing him to IBF champ Gervonta Davis, and then went on to say he's the man at 140 and Davis is at 130. This being spring of 2017. Last time I remember, Terrence Crawford is a top dog in the division. So Davies later says if his guy, Gervonta, wants to step up, he can get it. Mayweather brushed it off and was like, yeah, sure. So fast forward a couple months later, the 9-0 Josh Taylor beats Davies, stopping him in the 7th round. According to ES News, Davis goes on Twitter to clown Davies on his loss. So Chris Arreola gets a very privileged shot at the heavyweight title against Vitaly Klitschko in his own backyard of California. By this point, the Klitschkos have no reason going to America to make defenses because they get paid so much to fight in Europe. So you would think Chris would rise up to occasion and maybe come into his best shape this fight. Well, going by the pre-fight spotlight, we were definitely expecting the worst.
Sometimes I don't think he gives us the best chance to win, being sometimes that he comes in a little out of shape, a little bit too far out of shape. At times it is very frustrating, very frustrating at times.
Michael Phelps smoking weed, why can't I drink a beer? That guy's still setting records. Why can't I have a beer?
He had gotten up to about 290, which is by far the heaviest he had ever gotten.
It's a problem, but at the same time, it's not.
At the weigh-in, Chris trolls everyone by wearing a 20-pound weight vest under his shirt after weighing in at 271. He takes it off jokingly to re-weigh himself at 251. Oh gee, wow, that is close to a career high weight. Not very cash money right there. I think Chris fans were expecting him to come in similar to his weight against undefeated Chaz Witherspoon, which he was at 239. But nope, not today. Now keep in mind, Chris came in his all-time career shape against Andy Ruiz 12 years later, weighing in at an astonishing 228 pounds. Now the fight itself, I mean, what do you expect here? Vitaly gives Chris a straight boxing lesson. Dude couldn't even hit the man. Vitaly ends up stopping Chris in the 10th round. Chris is breaking down crying, talking about he worked his ass off.
And I worked my ass off. Michael Phelps smoking weed, why can't I drink a beer? It's a problem, but at the same time, it's not.
As a viewer, the statements coming into the fight doesn't make it sound like a lot was put into training camp. To end off the HBO broadcast, Jim makes a final statement about heavyweights going after the Klitschkos. Though he said all cultures, he really meant towards American heavyweights. I honestly don't know what was going on from 2005 to 2013. America had a lot of overweight guys, mostly blown up cruiserweights.
Memo to any heavyweight fighter from any culture who wants to beat a Klitschko, either Klitschko. These are 365-day-a-year guys. They don't take a single day off. Somebody who thinks that he can take 10 days off to have fun, party, drink, and then come back to the gym and get on the same page is not going to beat a Klitschko. It's as simple as that.
This was in 2001. The attacks on the World Trade Center was fresh in people's heads. Mundine made some of the craziest comments offending thousands. Americans don't even watch the super middleweight division at that time, nor knew who Mundine was, but due to that, he became quite known for that. Mundine never apologized and just kept on as he was about to fight super middleweight champion Sven Oteki. Out of 24 fights, Sven has 4 knockouts, while Karma came knocking and gave Sven that 5th knockout on his resume, winning by a 1-punch knockout in the 10th round. In 2021, 20 years later, Mundine finally made a public apology for his statements towards the September attacks in America. Man, where do I even start with this? I actually enjoyed the whole build-up to this fight. Both guys are having fun, trash talking. I love to see that. Who wants to see two guys shower each other with compliments, seeing who can say the nicest things to one another? That gets boring quick.
He is a great fighter, the best opponent I ever faced, though I said this my last fight, and I will win.
He is a great fighter, and the best opponent I have faced. I also think I will win.
When you watch or attend a lot of press conferences, it's just the same thing over and over. Boxing needs personalities, not robots following a 100-word script. Anyways, I would like to say this. Whoever loses between Wilder or Fury gets their clout curb. The reason for Fury is blatant obvious. The reason for Wilder is more of him just doing him, surrounding himself with yes men, not taking the 5 years to learn battle fundamentals, while having a belt organization pull every trick out of the book to give him vanilla competition outside of the make or break fights with Ortiz and Ortiz. So Wilder ends up losing. He showed great sportsmanship to Fury. For a second, it ends on a wholesome note. Then we get laughably excuse to conspiracy to another conspiracy to another conspiracy. So this first excuse, which spawned into conspiracy theories after it, was laughed and memed to oblivion. Wilder claimed that his suit weighed 40 pounds and it made him tired. Now if he was fighting at the Mandalay Bay, I may slightly agree if the whole suit weighed 40 pounds, which I don't think it did at all. The walk from the locker room to the ring at the Mandalay Bay makes absolutely no sense. It's fairly long. I felt like the walk from the locker room to the ring entrance at the Cowboys Arena was shorter. I may be a little exaggerating. It's really a long walk. But this fight was at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. There's only one entrance. The walk from the locker room to the entrance where the fighters will start the ring walk is incredibly short. And the distance from the entrance to the ring is even shorter. Fury came to the ring first. While Fury was making his entrance, Wilder's costume was not on. I have the entire broadcast of this match, and I'm looking at the timestamp. Wilder's costume is on at the 3-hour 2-minute marker. Wilder's costume is fully off by the 3-hour and 8-minute marker, so therefore in total he only had the costume on for 6 minutes. Like I said, meme to oblivion, and even Wilder's biggest fan, Stephen A. Smith, was shaking his head at the whole situation.
This is just not something you publicize. The outfit that you wore to the ring, wearing over 40 pounds, is why you think you lost this fight? What the hell you wear it to the ring for? According to the reports, you tried it on the night before. You knew how much it weighed at that particular moment in time. Why would you do that? But to publicize this excuse is nothing short of embarrassing.
Wilder then begins to blame trainer Mark Breland because he stopped the fight. He made it out to be that Mark was colluding alongside Team Fury. After the fight, Mark was kicked out of the locker room by Wilder, and he was seen crying outside the locker room. Come to my surprise, casual fight fans didn't know who Mark was and just called him lousy. Mark is a legend in American boxing, former champion and undoubtedly one of the greatest American amateurs of all time. He was part of undisputedly the greatest Olympic boxing team ever assembled, the equivalent to the '92 Dream Team. And Wilder for 6 years couldn't learn from this man, so that didn't go too well for Wilder. Wilder made a claim that Fury's gloves were tampered with. On the Friday after the weigh-in, both fighters select which gloves will be used. They are analyzed by both camps, then it's signed off, and the commission keeps the gloves and distributes them on the night of the fight. This prevents any type of tampering to be made.
No, these are my main ones, but these are my backup.
The commission
and this is my other backup.
Okay, backups right here.
My 2 backups.
I'm actually nervous. Dispute flares up over the gloves. Naz has changed his mind and no longer wants the green goatskin ones he'd asked for. He now wants one of the yellow pairs that Barrera has picked.
Hey, why is he writing on the gloves?
Because he wants that glove, he's got first choice.
He doesn't own those damn gloves.
As champion, Naz has the choice.
No, he doesn't.
I mean, if we can't come to a reasonable decision...
Then they'll have to say, well, these are the gloves we use, they're not yellow at all.
I'll bring 24 red gloves up and let them start all over again.
I have worked plenty of big fights, been in the locker rooms, there's always a commission officer present watching everything like a hawk. When it comes to the hand wraps, a team member of the fighter and a commission officer must be present during the hand wraps. There have been cases, Mayweather Ortiz for example, where Ortiz camp began the start of the wraps before any Team Floyd member was present, which Leonard Ellerby used his rights and made Ortiz camp re-wrap.
Turn the wraps into the WBC after the fight anyway, they test them.
Okay, well, that's not my concern. I you ain't got to tell me about it.
I understand.
I think I've been in this ball game a little longer than you have. I think we'd have done this a time or two more than you have. Okay. I'm gonna be respectful to you, and I expect the same. I expect the same in return. All I'm saying is that I wasn't here to witness the rap.
Okay, let us move.
And what Roger said, Roger's not here. But it's what I'm saying.
This rules out any tampering of hand wraps and gloves. Mayweather Jim's boxing channel completely debunked the whole glove conspiracy. On top of that, Fury was using Everlast MX gloves. Those gloves use horsehair and they are far more flexible in a weird kind of way compared to non-horsehair padding gloves. Canelo used the same gloves and you could see the identical flexibility with the glove when slapping and flicking the jab out. So when that was well debunked, Wilder goes back and blames Mark Breland for spiking his water bottle. Now this is getting ridiculous here, and I felt like I heard this before. Oh yeah, Tarver versus Hopkins. Tarver claimed that someone poisoned him, reasons to why he felt so sluggish. By this point, Mark Breland has had enough, and he finally came out and talked on social media. I don't blame him, he doesn't deserve any of this. The last of the last is the white powder conspiracy. Someone tried making a claim that was used to spike Wilder's water, and went as far as saying it was heroin. This is getting wild. Firstly, that looks like smelling salts. And secondly, I'm pretty sure that's a banned substance, so unintentionally, they may have caught Wilder's camp cheating themselves. Man, this is a headache. So this here is unresolved, and whoever wins the third fight, 100% their clout is curbed. Hopefully there won't be any conspiracies after this. I mean, this is silly. It's stupid. As an extra bonus, I'm just gonna hurry up and cover this fight. This is a meme video, so okay, whatever. Let's cover the meme fight. I don't know how this beef came about. Robinson has been learning boxing for like a handful of months, and he's on that Ronda Rousey level of blind confidence. Paul been practicing boxing for a couple years. I would say maybe since 2017. Even shockingly, having training sessions with lightweight champ Jorge Linares. So you have 3 years of very privileged boxing lessons compared to a couple of months with Robinson. This is a recipe for disaster. Here's some bootleg images of this fight. Robinson gets planked 3 to 4 times in a row. The final time, the shot was a lot more flush, resulting in a very embarrassing knockout finish. The only thing missing from this fight is Roy Jones Jr. saying he's not getting enough gym. Boxing memes rarely ever transcend out of the boxing ecosystem, but this fight, if you like to call it a fight, exploded into pop culture, becoming a certified meme. This fight happened in 2020. I'd never seen a personality get roasted so bad through memes that year, besides Travis Scott when he came out as Batman for Halloween. This is 2 curb clouts for 1 special right here, fresh from the farmer's market. So for years, Saunders has been talking mad trash, but when it comes to making the fight deal, this man got them paper hands, pulling out of fight deals faster than a beginner crypto investor. Golovkin was the first to try and get a fight with him. Shortly after Saunders won the WBO title, after so many attempts to get a fight made, they just gave up. Golovkin outside the ring is mostly a calm guy, but when interviewed about the Saunders situation, that is possibly the most frustrated I've ever seen him.
He's nothing, you know. I give him a couple chances, you know. In Kazakhstan, you know, this talk. He's bad talk. You know, I don't want talking with him. He's nothing for me. You know, he's not ready. He's not ready. He's only talking, you know. I not believe he's ready. You know, he's nothing.
It's now summer 2016, so now it's up to Canelo to get a fight with Saunders in efforts to have a fight with Golovkin for the undisputed title by September 2017. Since Canelo is not ranked by the WBO, he can't really get a fight with Saunders, but if he's able to become a WBO champ in another division, he can directly challenge Billy Joe. This is where we have the Lee and Smith fight, because this matchup makes absolutely no sense if you don't put that main detail together. Saunders was supposed to make his US debut and HBO debut on the Canelo Smith co-main event against Gabriel Rosado. Winner fights Canelo in either December or May of 2017. Guess what? Saunders supposedly backs out at the last minute. Willie Monroe filled in as Saunders' replacement to fight Rosado, and I believe that completely threw a monkey wrench to getting a unification made. And despite all of that, Saunders continued to run his mouth. So fast forward to 2020. The fight is finally made. It was a bit up in the air if it was going to be canceled due to the pandemic, but it got canceled before the commission decided to cancel boxing events, because Saunders made a video joking about domestic abuse, which resulted in him getting suspended. This guy just likes getting out of fights. And now we have to take a detour here. Saunders goes public clowning and insulting Daniel Dubois for retiring from the fight as he broke his orbital bone against Joe Joyce. Either this man is an idiot or a 10-year-old edgelord trapped in a 31-year-old's body. A broken orbital bone is a very serious injury. It's nothing to play with. Depending on the severity of the fracture, it is highly recommended not to continue any further in the fight. In rare instances, if it's a fracture that requires no surgery, a fighter can potentially finish a fight. We saw this with Inoue versus Broner, but even then, the side effects are debilitating. Back on track. So Base Billy here is finally fighting Canelo in May. Fight week comes, and once again, something from this man. He's saying he's going to back out of the fight if the ring isn't any bigger. This is getting ridiculous here, but after a hot minute, it was finally resolved. Finally, we are here. The fight itself. Billy looks like Billy early, what can I say? But Billy can't keep a pace like that, and coming into the 8th, this man fell off a cliff. Slowed down dramatically, and it was just in due time Canelo was going to land something big, and there it was. A perfect uppercut, and it had an immediate effect on Saunders. When the bell rung, Canelo didn't even bother sitting. He knew the fight was over. Dude literally broke his face with that uppercut, and in the most ironic fashion, Billy Joe Saunders was forced to retire from the fight due to a broken orbital bone. The same injury Daniel got that he mocked. Daniel gets the last laugh and word on this, stating, "How's your eye, Saunders?"
On the same level playing field now. How's your eye, Joe? You know? but
In my time watching boxing, as things are playing out. I don't think I ever came across someone who truly had it coming just being a piece of shit person. Some may make the claim for Antonio Margarito when he got whooped by Pacquiao, but this makes a good case to top that. To end things off on a much more serious note, when fighters get injured or take too much punishment, and it's to where if you choose to continue, it can forever ruin your career and your life after, once everything is said and done, it is perfectly fine to retire from a fight, to fight another day. That is not quitting, and you are not a quitter.
Knowing my brother, he would have never quit.
There wasn't an ounce of energy left in him. How can anybody say that he quit? That's shocking. It almost makes me want to cry, that. Honestly.
With all the incidents and deaths happening in this sport because fighters want to continue fighting and finish the fight just so they won't be labeled a quitter by the fans, and clout chasing fighters like Billy himself, it's quite sad on the toxic environment that has been created in this sport. Personally, I don't like Billy. He's a piece of shit. But Billy is no quitter, and I will never call him one. I hope Billy has learned his lesson, I hope his road to recovery will be swift, and he can fight another day.